This is it, our final call. We have only 15 days left to reach 100 subscribers, and we are so incredibly close to our goal. This milestone unlocks the financial support we desperately need to keep bringing you these powerful, life-changing stories. If you felt anything watching our tales, joy, sadness, hope, inspiration, if you've connected with our characters and their journeys, please subscribe right now. This is our last story before the deadline, and we need your help to cross the finish line. Click that subscribe button, share this video with everyone you know who loves fantasy, romance, and magical creatures, and leave a comment telling us this journey has meant to you. We're racing against time. 15 days, 1,000 subscribers, one final sprint. Your subscription is what makes the difference between continuing this channel or losing it forever. Subscribe now, share widely, comment generously, and help us achieve our dream together. Now, let's dive into our final epic tale. The Royal Unicorn Sanctuary existed at the heart of the Celestial Kingdom, a place of such beauty and magic that commoners were forbidden from even approaching its gates. Within its crystalline walls lived the last pure-blooded unicorns in the known world, 12 magnificent beings who had not chosen a bonded partner in over a century. Unicorns, according to ancient lore and modern tradition, only bonded with those of the highest status and purest bloodlines. Alphas of royal or noble birth, occasionally a beta from an exceptionally prestigious family, but never in all of recorded history had a unicorn chosen an omega. Omegas were considered too weak, too common, too fundamentally inferior to be worthy of such magical creatures. It was an accepted truth, written into law books and religious texts alike. Omegas shall not touch, approach, or presume to bond with the sacred unicorns, for they are unworthy of such honor. 17-year-old Celine had heard this law repeated her entire life. She was an Omega in the Celestial Kingdom's capital city, working as a servant in the household of Duke Aldrich Thornheart, one of the kingdom's wealthiest nobles. She cleaned, she served, she kept her head down and her eyes lowered, as all Omegas were trained to do. She had silver-white hair that she kept carefully hidden under a servant's cap, and pale violet eyes that she never let anyone see directly. Both features that marked her as unusual even among Omegas, though she did not understand why. Her parents had died when she was very young, leaving her with no knowledge of her heritage beyond the fact that she was Omega and therefore worthless by society's standards. The Duke's household was preparing for a momentous event. His eldest son, Lord Cassius, had been granted the rare privilege of entering the Unicorn Sanctuary to attempt a bonding. Only a handful of individuals each year were granted this honor, and Cassius had been preparing for months, certain that his alpha status, noble bloodline, and expensive training would guarantee him a unicorn partner. The entire household was in chaos, preparing for the occasion. Celine worked alongside dozens of other servants, ensuring everything was perfect for the celebration that would follow Cassius's inevitable success. Can you imagine? One of the other Omega servants whispered to Celine as they folded linens, "Actually seeing a unicorn? They say they glow with inner light, that their horns can heal any illness, that bonding with one grants immortality." "We will never know," another servant said bitterly. "Omegas are not even allowed near the sanctuary gates, as if our mere presence would contaminate the sacred ground." Celine said nothing, but she felt the familiar ache of being excluded from something beautiful simply because of what she was. She had long ago accepted that certain wonders were not meant for Omegas. The unicorns were just one more thing to add to that list. The day of Cassius's attempt arrived. The Duke's entire household was invited to witness the event from outside the sanctuary. Nobles would enter the grounds, while servants would watch from beyond the gates. Even this small privilege was granted only because the Duke was sponsoring his son's attempt. Selene stood with the other servants at the very back of the crowd, barely able to see over the heads of those in front of her. She watched as Cassius, dressed in ceremonial white robes trimmed with gold, walked through the sanctuary gates with his head held high, confidence radiating from every step. The unicorns were brought out one at a time to meet him. Each was breathtaking. Pure white coats that seemed to shimmer with starlight, spiraling horns of crystalline silver, eyes that held the wisdom of centuries. Cassius approached each one with practiced gestures, offering his hand, speaking words of greeting in the old language, doing everything the bonding masters had taught him. And each unicorn turned away from him. One by one, all 12 unicorns rejected Cassius Thornheart. Some simply walked past him without acknowledgement. Others snorted in what might have been disdain. One actually bared its teeth at him before trotting away. The crowd watched in shocked silence. This was unprecedented. Cassius was a perfect candidate, alpha bloodline, noble birth, expensive training. How could every single unicorn reject him? Cassius's face went from confident to confused to humiliated. The Duke's expression darkened with fury. The bonding masters looked bewildered, consulting ancient texts as if the answers might be written there. "This is impossible," the head bonding master said. "Lord Cassius meets every requirement. The unicorns should have—" He was interrupted by a commotion at the sanctuary gates. One of the unicorns had left the central courtyard and was approaching the gates where the servants stood. Not just any unicorn, but the most magnificent of all, the Lunar stallion, whose coat shimmered with undertones of silver and pale blue, whose horn glowed with soft moonlight, whose presence commanded such reverence that even the other unicorns deferred to him. The Lunar stallion had not bonded with anyone in over 200 years. He was considered the most powerful, most selective unicorn in existence. And he was walking directly toward the servant section of the crowd. "Make way!" guards shouted, pushing servants aside. "The Lunar stallion approaches! Move!" Servants scattered, terrified of being trampled or accused of somehow offending the sacred creature. Selene tried to move with them, but the crowd was too dense, pushing in multiple directions. She found herself trapped against the iron bars of the gate, unable to retreat. The Lunar stallion stopped directly in front of her. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Selene stared into eyes that were ancient and knowing and impossibly kind. The stallion stared back, and something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps, or understanding. A connection that transcended words or logic. Then the Lunar stallion did something that made the entire crowd gasp in collective shock. He lowered his head and pressed his horn gently against Selene's forehead. Power exploded through her. Selene gasped as magic flooded her senses, as the bond snapped into place with overwhelming force. She felt the Lunar stallion's essence merge with her own, felt his memories, his wisdom, his purpose, and he felt her hidden strength, her suppressed magic, the truth about what she really was. When the glow faded, Selene stood transformed. Her servant's cap had fallen away, revealing her silver-white hair that now seemed to shine with its own light. Her violet eyes blazed with power, and most shocking of all, a mark had appeared on her forehead where the horn had touched, a crescent moon in shimmering silver, the sign of a unicorn bond. The crowd erupted in chaos. "That's an Omega!" The Lunar stallion bonded with an Omega. "This is impossible, against all the laws of nature. She must have used dark magic. There is no other explanation." Duke Aldrich pushed through the crowd, his face purple with rage. "Guards, seize that Omega. She has obviously enchanted the Lunar stallion somehow. This is blasphemy." But before anyone could touch Selene, the Lunar stallion stepped between her and the approaching guards. His horn began to glow with warning light, and when he spoke, his voice resonated in everyone's minds simultaneously, ancient and powerful and brooking no argument. "I am Aurelius, the Lunar stallion, eldest of unicorns and guardian of the moonlight path. I have chosen this one as my bonded partner. She has not enchanted me. She has not used dark magic. She is exactly what she appears to be, my destined companion, the one I have been waiting 2 centuries to find. But she is Omega, Cassius shouted, his humiliation turning to fury. Omegas cannot bond with unicorns. It is against all tradition, all law. Your laws, Aurelius said with clear disdain, are built on falsehoods. Omegas were once the primary bonded partners of unicorns, before your kind decided to rewrite history and claim all power for alphas. This one carries the bloodline of the ancient lunar priests, those who served the moon goddess and partnered with unicorns to channel her magic. She is more worthy than any alpha in this crowd, and I have chosen her. Lies! Duke Aldrich snarled. This Omega is a servant in my household. She has no bloodline, no heritage, no worth beyond her labor. You have been deceived. Look at her, Aurelius commanded. Truly look. See what your prejudice has blinded you to. Reluctantly, people looked at Selene, and now, with the bond complete and her true nature revealed, they could see what had been hidden before. Her silver-white hair and violet eyes were not random traits, but markers of ancient bloodlines. The way she stood now, with unconscious grace and dignity, spoke of breeding that no amount of servant training could fully suppress, and the power radiating from her, amplified by the bond with Aurelius, was undeniable. She is lunar-born, one of the bonding masters whispered, his voice awed. The silver hair, the violet eyes, the mark of the crescent moon. She carries the bloodline of the ancient priests. But how? The lunar priest line was thought to have died out generations ago. Hidden, Aurelius corrected, not dead, hidden among the Omegas, where those who feared their power could not find them. But bloodlines cannot be suppressed forever. Truth has a way of revealing itself. Duke Aldrich looked between his rejected son and the Omega servant who had somehow bonded with the most powerful unicorn in existence. His expression twisted with a combination of rage, greed, and calculation. Very well, he said finally. If the lunar stallion has chosen this girl, then she is clearly valuable. As her employer and guardian, I claim ownership of both the Omega and her bonded unicorn. They will remain in my household under my control. You claim nothing, Aurelius said, his voice dropping to a dangerous rumble. She is not your property. The bond between unicorn and companion transcends mortal laws of ownership. Selene is free, and she leaves with me now. Any who try to stop us will face consequences they cannot imagine. I am a duke of this realm, Aldrich roared. You cannot just take my servant. Watch me. Aurelius lowered himself, and Selene understood the invitation. She climbed onto his back, her movements natural and right, as if she had been born to ride unicorns. The moment she settled, power surged between them again, and Aurelius's horn blazed with brilliant moonlight. The sanctuary gates, which had been closed and locked, swung open on their own. The iron bars bent and twisted, creating a path, and Aurelius walked through, carrying Selene, with a dignity and power that made everyone instinctively step back. "Stop them!" Duke Aldrich commanded his guards. "I order you to stop them." Several guards drew weapons and moved to block their path. Aurelius did not slow. His horn glowed brighter, and moonlight exploded outward in a wave that knocked the guards backward without harming them, simply moving them out of the way, as if they weighed nothing. They walked through the crowd, through the sanctuary grounds, out into the streets of the capital city. People stopped and stared. A unicorn and his bonded companion were rare enough to see, but an Omega riding the legendary lunar stallion was unprecedented. Word spread through the city like wildfire. By the time they reached the edge of the capital, thousands had gathered to watch. Some shouted support, others hurled accusations of dark magic. Most simply stared in confusion and wonder at something that should not exist, but clearly did. Aurelius carried Selene out of the capital and into the Moonwood forest. a sacred place where few humans dared to venture. Deep within the forest, they came to a clearing that seemed to exist slightly outside normal reality. The trees formed a perfect circle. The ground was covered in white flowers that glowed with inner light, and at the center stood an ancient stone altar carved with symbols of the moon. "What is this place?" Selene asked as she slid off Aurelius's back. "This is the temple of the lunar path," Aurelius explained, his mental voice warm now that they were alone. "The last remaining sanctuary of the lunar priests, hidden from the world for 300 years. This is where your ancestors served the moon goddess, where they bonded with unicorns like me, where they channeled magic that could heal entire kingdoms." "But I am just an Omega," Selene protested, overwhelmed by everything. "I have no training, no knowledge of this magic you speak of. I do not know how to be what you need me to be." "You are not just an Omega," Aurelius said gently. "You are lunar-born. The designation of Omega was imposed on your people to suppress your power, to make you seem weak and inferior so no one would suspect what you truly were. But the magic is in your blood, Selene. It has always been there. You just need to learn how to access it." He approached the altar and touched his horn to the ancient stone. Immediately, symbols began to glow, and a soft voice echoed through the clearing, not speaking aloud, but resonating through the magic itself. "If you hear this, lunar-born child, then the time has come. The bloodline survives. Learn what was taken from you. Remember what was forgotten. Become what you were always meant to be." Images flooded Selene's mind. She saw her ancestors, the lunar priests, working alongside unicorns to channel the moon goddess's power. She saw them healing plagues, ending droughts, bringing peace to warring kingdoms. She saw them respected and honored, their Omega designation not a mark of weakness, but a sign of their unique ability to channel lunar magic. Then she saw the betrayal, a council of ambitious alphas who wanted to monopolize all power. They rewrote histories, destroyed records, spread lies about Omegas being weak and inferior. They hunted the lunar priests, forcing them into hiding, scattering the bloodline among ordinary Omegas where it would be overlooked and forgotten. But they could not destroy the bloodline entirely. It persisted, hidden, waiting for a time when it would be safe to emerge again. "I am the last," Selene whispered, understanding flooding through her. "The last of the lunar priest bloodline." "Yes," Aurelius confirmed. "Your parents hid you among the servants to keep you safe, then died before they could tell you the truth. You grew up thinking you were ordinary, powerless, worthless. But you were never any of those things. You are extraordinary, Selene, and together we will restore what was taken from your people." "How?" Selene asked. "The entire kingdom believes Omegas are inferior. They have laws, traditions, centuries of propaganda supporting that belief. How can we change that?" "By being undeniably powerful," Aurelius said. "By demonstrating what Omega magic can do when properly trained. By proving that the old hierarchies were never based on truth, but on fear and greed. Will you learn, Selene? Will you claim your birthright and become what you were always meant to be?" Selene looked at the ancient altar, at the glowing symbols, at the unicorn who had chosen her when she thought herself unworthy of being chosen. She thought about 17 years of being told she was worthless, of bowing her head and accepting abuse and degradation because that was what Omegas did. And she thought about the possibility of being something more, of proving that Omega did not mean inferior, of showing the world that the hierarchies they accepted as natural were nothing but lies, built on lies. "Teach me," she said firmly. "Teach me everything. I want to learn. I want to become what my ancestors were. I want to prove that Omegas are not weak." "Then we begin," Aurelius said with satisfaction. The training was intense, Every day, Selene worked with Aurelius to access the magic sleeping in her blood. She learned to channel moonlight, to heal injuries and illness, to sense the emotions and intentions of others, to create shields of pure lunar energy that could protect against any attack. She learned that Omega magic was fundamentally different from Alpha magic. Where Alphas used force and dominance, Omegas used harmony and transformation. Where Alphas imposed their will, Omegas worked with natural energies. Neither was superior, they were simply different approaches to the same goal. But Omega magic had been suppressed so long that the world had forgotten it existed. That was the advantage Selene now possessed, the element of complete surprise. 3 months after bonding with Aurelius, Selene returned to the capital city. She rode Aurelius through the streets openly, no longer hiding who or what she was. Her silver-white hair flowed freely, uncovered. Her violet eyes blazed with power. The crescent moon mark on her forehead glowed softly, and the aura of magic surrounding her was so strong that people instinctively backed away, uncertain what they were seeing, but recognizing power when they felt it. Word spread quickly that the Omega who had bonded with the lunar stallion had returned. Duke Aldrich immediately sent guards to capture her, claiming she was still his property and that she had stolen a sacred unicorn. The guards found them in the central square. 50 armed men surrounded Selene and Aurelius, weapons drawn, ready to take them by force if necessary. "Selene the Omega," the guard captain announced formally. "By order of Duke Aldrich Thornheart, you are to surrender yourself and the stolen unicorn to his custody. Comply or face execution for theft of sacred property." "I am no one's property," Selene said calmly, "and neither is Aurelius. We are bonded partners, and we answer to no one but ourselves and the moon goddess we serve." "You are Omega," the captain said with disdain. "Omegas do not give orders, they obey. Now surrender before we are forced to use violence." "I do not wish to hurt you," Selene said, "but I will defend myself if you attack. This is your only warning." The captain laughed. "You will defend yourself? You are one Omega girl against 50 trained soldiers. You have no weapon, no armor, no chance. Surrender now." "I have something better than weapons," Selene said. "I have truth." She raised her hands, and moonlight poured from her palms. Not aggressive, not attacking, but revealing. The light washed over the guards, and suddenly they could see clearly, could see the lies they had been taught, the false hierarchies they had accepted, the injustice they were perpetuating by trying to capture a free person simply because she was Omega. Several guards lowered their weapons, confusion on their faces. The captain shouted at them to maintain formation, but his voice lacked conviction. He too had been touched by the revealing light, had felt the uncomfortable truth that what he was doing was wrong. Before anyone could decide what to do next, Duke Aldrich himself arrived with a larger force. Behind him walked his son Cassius and several other nobles who had attempted bonding and been rejected by the unicorns. "Enough of this!" Aldrich roared. "That Omega has bewitched the lunar stallion with dark magic. She must be captured and the enchantment broken so the unicorn can bond with a worthy candidate, my son." "I was not bewitched," Aurelius's voice echoed in everyone's minds. "I chose Selene freely, as is my right, and I will not be claimed by your son or anyone else. Selene is my destined partner, the only one in this kingdom capable of channeling lunar magic as it was meant to be channeled." "Lies!" Cassius shouted. "Omegas have no magic. They are the weakest designation. Everyone knows this." "Then let me demonstrate," Selene said calmly. She dismounted from Aurelius and walked toward a group of commoners who had gathered to watch the confrontation. Among them was a mother holding a child who was clearly ill, burning with fever, barely conscious. "May I help your child?" Selene asked gently. The mother looked terrified, unsure if she should trust an Omega with her baby, but desperation won out. "Please." The healers say there is nothing they can do. If you can help. Selene placed her hands on the child's forehead. Moonlight flowed from her palms, gentle and warm. The fever broke immediately. Color returned to the child's face. Within moments, the baby was crying lustily, not from pain, but from being awakened from sleep, healthy and whole. The crowd gasped. The mother wept with joy and gratitude, and Selene turned to face the nobles and guards. "Omega magic is real," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the square. "It has always been real. It was suppressed, hidden, lied about by those who feared it. But it exists, and I am living proof." She moved through the crowd, healing as she went. A man with an injured leg, a woman with chronic pain, an elderly person with failing eyesight. One by one, Selene healed them all with lunar magic, demonstrating power that no alpha healer could match. Duke Aldrich watched with growing fury mixed with greed. "If what you say is true, if Omegas truly have this power, then you are even more valuable than I thought. You will come with me. You will teach this magic to those I designate. You will serve the interests of the nobility, as is proper." "No," Selene said simply. "You refuse a direct order from a duke?" "I refuse to be owned," Selene corrected. "I refuse to let my power be used to benefit those who have oppressed my people for centuries. I refuse to pretend that the hierarchies you have built are anything other than tools of control. I am free, Duke Aldrich, and soon every Omega in this kingdom will know they can be free too." "Treason." Aldrich snarled. "Guards, kill her! Kill the unicorn! Kill anyone who stands with them!" The guards hesitated. They had seen Selene's healing, had felt the truth in her words. Many of them had Omega family members, sisters, mothers, daughters who lived under the oppressive rules that declared them worthless. Could those rules really be based on lies? Before anyone could move, a new voice rang out across the square. "Stand down, all of you!" Everyone turned to see the Queen herself approaching, flanked by the royal guard. Queen Ilara was known for her wisdom and fairness, and her presence commanded instant respect and attention. She walked directly to Selene and looked at her for a long moment. Then, shockingly, the Queen bowed her head slightly, a gesture of respect between equals. "I have been researching the history of the lunar priests since word reached me of your bonding," Queen Ilara said. "I found records in the royal archives that had been hidden for centuries, records that confirm everything you have implied, that Omegas were once powerful, that they were suppressed through lies and violence, that the current hierarchy is built on falsehoods." She turned to address the crowd. "I am Alpha. I benefit from the current system, but I am also a queen, and my duty is to truth and justice, not to comfortable lies. This Omega, Selene Lunarborn, speaks truth. The laws that declare Omegas inferior are built on propaganda and fear. They are unjust, and as of this moment, I am abolishing them." The crowd erupted in shock and confusion. Duke Aldrich looked apoplectic, but the Queen continued, her voice carrying authority that could not be questioned. "All laws restricting Omegas are hereby suspended pending review. All Omegas currently in forced servitude are granted freedom to choose their own paths, and Selene Lunarborn is officially recognized as a lunar priest. With all rights and privileges that ancient title carried, she is not property, she is not a servant, she is a magic user of the highest order, and she will be treated with the respect that position demands." The Queen turned back to Selena. "I cannot undo centuries of injustice overnight, but I can begin. Will you help me? Will you teach others about Omega magic? Will you work with me to build a society where designation does not determine worth?" Selene looked at this Alpha Queen, who was willing to dismantle systems that benefited her own designation, who chose justice over comfort. who had the courage to admit that everything her society believed was wrong. "I will help," Selene said, "on one condition." "Name it." "That Omegas are not just freed but educated, that we are taught our true history, our magic, our worth, that we are given opportunities to prove ourselves equal to any alpha or beta, not special treatment, just equal opportunity. Can you promise that?" "I can," Queen Elara said, "and I will." They shook hands. Omega and Alpha, Lunar priest and queen. Two people who should have been separated by rigid hierarchy, but who chose to work together towards something better. Over the next years, the celestial kingdom transformed. It was not easy. Many alphas resisted the changes, clinging to their privileged positions. But Selene worked tirelessly, teaching Omega magic to those who carried the potential, demonstrating that Omegas could be healers, advisors, warriors, leaders. And as more Omegas discovered their suppressed magic, as they learned their true history, as they stepped into their power, the old hierarchies crumbled. Not eliminated entirely. Change is never that complete, but weakened, made flexible, transformed into something more just. Selene became legendary, the Omega who bonded with the Lunar stallion, the Lunar priest who restored her people's magic, the woman who proved that worth was not determined by designation. And Aurelius remained her constant companion, her partner in every sense. Together, they trained a new generation of Lunar priests, Omegas who learned to channel moon magic, who bonded with the unicorns that had been waiting centuries for worthy partners, who proved that Omega did not mean inferior, but simply different, valuable, powerful, in their own unique way. Duke Aldrich eventually lost his position and wealth, his refusal to accept the new order costing him everything. Cassius, his son, quietly left the kingdom, unable to face the humiliation of being rejected by unicorns in favor of an Omega. But their story was a footnote. The real story was Selene's, the Omega girl who had been told her entire life that she was worthless, who had believed it herself, who had accepted degradation and abuse because she thought it was all she deserved. Until a unicorn bowed to her and showed her the truth, that she had never been worthless, that the lies she had been taught were just that, lies, and that she carried within her the potential to change the world. 20 years after bonding with Aurelius, Selene stood in the rebuilt temple of the Lunar Path, surrounded by 50 Omega students learning to channel moon magic. She watched them discover their power, saw the moment when each one realized they were not inferior but extraordinary, felt joy at their transformation from believing themselves worthless to knowing their true worth. And she remembered the girl she had been, a servant who hid her silver hair and never met anyone's eyes, who thought she deserved nothing better than scraps and abuse. "You have come far," Aurelius said, his mental voice warm with pride and affection. "We have come far," Selene corrected. "None of this would have been possible without you. Without you seeing value in me when I could not see it myself. Without you choosing me when everyone said I was unworthy of being chosen. I did not make you worthy," Aurelius said gently. "You always were worthy. I simply recognized it. That is what choosing is, not creating worth, but acknowledging what already exists." "Then thank you for acknowledging me," Selene said, "for seeing me when I was invisible, for believing in me when I did not believe in myself, for showing me that the world's judgment of my worth was wrong. And thank you," Aurelius replied, "for having the courage to accept my choice, for being brave enough to embrace your power when it would have been easier to reject it and stay safe in obscurity, for proving that Omegas are not weak, but simply untrained, not inferior, but simply suppressed. You changed the world, Selene. Never doubt that." She didn't, not anymore, because she had learned the most important lesson of all, that worth is inherent, not earned. That designation does not determine value. that sometimes the people society calls worthless are actually the most powerful of all. They just need someone to believe in them long enough for them to believe in themselves. And sometimes that someone is a unicorn who refuses to accept the world's lies about who is and isn't worthy of magic, of power, of being chosen. The end. This is it. Our final plea. We have 15 days to reach 1,000 subscribers, or we lose everything we've built. If Celine and Aurelius's story touched your heart, if you believe that worth is inherent and not earned, if you felt the power of being chosen when the world said you were worthless, then please subscribe right now. This is our last story before the deadline. This is our final chance. Click that subscribe button immediately. Share this video with everyone, your friends, your family, your social media, everywhere. Comment below and tell us how this journey has impacted you. We need you to help us reach 1,000 subscribers in the next 15 days. Without your help, this channel dies. All these stories, all this emotion, all this magic, gone. But with your help, we continue creating these transformative tales that remind us all that we are worthy, that we are powerful, that we are enough. Subscribe now, share everywhere, comment passionately. This is our final sprint. 15 days, 1,000 subscribers. We are so close. Please, please help us cross the finish line. Your subscription is what makes the difference between achieving our dream and losing it forever. Subscribe right now and be the reason this channel survives. Thank you for this incredible journey. Now please hit that button and help us make it to the end. We believe in you. Subscribe now.